one of the world's most densely populated countries. Bangladesh is also one of the countries expected to be most affected by global climate change and extreme weather events such as floods, cyclones and droughts. People move to Dhaka, the capital, at a higher pace than anywhere else in southern Asia. Most of them settle in the enormous, overcrowded slum areas where basic infrastructure like clean water, toilets, electricity, and sanitation systems are lacking. Yet every day, new people move in, and the reason is the prospect of employment, particularly in Bangladesh's booming textile industry. Nearly 4 million people work in the textile factories. Let's meet one of them.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, my name is Ruma Akhtar and I work in a textile factory as a sewing machine operator. I'm 26 years old, I think, but I'm not entirely certain. My parents died when I was very small. I live here with my husband and 2 daughters next to the factory about an hour outside Dhaka. My husband works in the factory as a mechanic. I grew up in an orphanage in northern Bangladesh, but when I was a teenager, around 14, I got to move to Dhaka. I got my first job right away as an assistant in a textile factory.
You're now standing in one of Dhaka's textile factories, in the part of the factory where cloth is dyed. There are around 4,500 such factories in Bangladesh, which makes them the largest textile exporter after China. Low production costs make the country exceptionally competitive, but there are serious downsides. Low salaries and bad working conditions are 2 of them, but the industry is also very harmful to the environment. To wash, color, and sew a kilo of cloth requires over 200 liters of fresh water. And to grow cotton to produce a pair of jeans takes over 10,000 liters. Just this factory alone dyes 4 tons of clothes per day, which takes 58 million liters of water. In low-income nations with poor infrastructure, most runoff and drainage water still goes untreated into nature. The factory's drainage mouth, that you see here, is an all too common sight in the area. The global textile industry is responsible for 20% of the world's water pollution. Dyeing is the main culprit, but there is also fireproofing and impregnating. The need and competition for water, dam building that affects the natural course of rivers, and the discharge of wastewater have led to half of the world's freshwater ecosystems disappearing. The rice paddy you're now standing in is only about 10 kilometers from the factory and the drainage you just saw. It's affected by changes in environment, just like all of us are. Environmental changes affect the prerequisites for a good life, especially in poor countries like Bangladesh. And it is the poor who are hit the hardest by climate change and natural disasters. Ruma moved to Dhaka to support herself, and she's not alone. It's become more difficult to live according to tradition, grow rice, and live off the land. Without clean, fresh water, neither people nor animals can survive. And of course, without clean water, people can't grow safe crops either. That's why it's so important to economize with what water there is and make sure it's treated and purified.
This is where we sew the clothes. I work here. Our working week is 6 days long and we work 8 hours a day. Bangladesh is a Muslim country, so we're free on Fridays. But the factory can't afford to be idle and is open day and night. In the evenings and at night, we weave and dye cloth, so many of us work in shifts. I'm very proud of my job here. This is one of the best factories in the country and I have real opportunities for advancement. Having a regular job and earning money gives me the means to help support my family and give my children the childhood I never had. But I've been lucky. At many other factories, the working conditions are not the same.
Agricultural and industrial production is responsible for the greatest use of water in the world, while simultaneously levels of groundwater are sinking in many countries. This affects the possibility of sustainable development. As a Swede, you use around 4,000 liters of water per day if you include the water used to produce your clothing and the food you eat. In Bangladesh, people use about half of that. According to the UN, The minimum requirement for a person is 50 liters per day, but over 1 billion people do not have even that. While we in Sweden and other high-income nations buy clothes like never before, the awareness of the consequences of our consumption is also growing. Sida works together with the Stockholm International Water Institute on a program where over 30 clothing companies cooperate to change the industry. It's about using water more effectively and reducing energy consumption and the need for toxic chemicals. This has not only led to saving enough water for roughly 50 million people's use, but has also saved a lot of money for the factories. The one you're in now is one of those in the program.
At the factory, we learn the importance of clean water and that you must economize with it and also not drain away the dirty water into the environment. More and more factories are thinking like this. I see a bright future for myself and my children, and also for Bangladesh. Both my husband and I have work, and our children go to school and have completely new possibilities. We even save money to move back and buy land where I grew up. My dream would be to have a house there with some land we could farm.
Environmental challenges do not have national borders. We in Sweden, just like Ruma and everyone else on Earth, all need to work to create a better future where no one is left out. Knowledge is the first step. Conscious choices can be the next. The nations of the world have adopted the 17 global goals for sustainable development to be completed by the year 2030. Among them is the end of extreme poverty and the fight against climate change. Everyone should also have access to safe drinking water.